What's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheeseheadz Weekly Podcast. I'm your host, Landry, here with you, and happy to be here on a Saturday. A little bit late for the show, but had a full week and decided, I may as well record the episode, even if it is late. It's better than no episode at all. Next week, I should be able to have it out closer to Tuesday, till after the game, to give better reactions. I won't react to this game too much because it's so late in the week. Instead, I will focus more on previewing the game with the Tennessee Titans coming up. So it will be a shorter episode here on the show. Before we get into it, just to let you know, you can check out our website at greatcove.net/cheeseheadz. You can follow me on social media at Cheeseheadz_weekly, except for on X at Cheeseheadz_W is my handle there. You can get the show wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube at Cheeseheadz_weekly. Check us out. Hit that subscribe or follow button. It's completely free and really helps me out and helps the show out. You can also rate the show on Spotify. You can rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That also really helps get the show out to more Packers fans. And, of course, as always, just tell your friends about the show. That works just fine as well. Thanks for joining us. I will quickly go over my players of the game like I typically do. The Packers defeated the Indianapolis Colts at home. They win their 12th straight home opener with Malik Willis as the starter. Jordan Love was listed as questionable, did not play, and we'll get into that regarding this week and this week's injury report here. But Malik Willis went 12 for 14, 122 yards, a touchdown, passer rating of 126.8, QB rating 82.0. So this was a solid performance from Malik Willis. Now, only 14 pass attempts. The Packers were able to run all over this Colts defense, and they really couldn't do anything about it. Josh Jacobs, 32 carries, 151 yards. 4.7 a carry on average. Malik Willis did add some of his own on the ground, 6 for 41. Jaden Reed, 2 for 37. Marshawn Lloyd got a few carries before he got injured. Emmanuel Wilson got a few. Both of them were not very efficient. And Bo Melton also got a couple as well. So they mixed things up. They had some end arounds, jet sweeps, a few screens as well. And they really didn't have to throw the ball down the field. The one deep shot was to Romeo Doubs, who finished 3 for 62. And it was a 39-yard pass down the field that was, could have been better thrown, but he put it up there. Romeo Doubs high-pointed it, made a great catch right over the defender. Fantastic play by Romeo Doubs, and not a bad idea by Willis to just throw it up to him, because it is Romeo Doubs after all, and he has made plenty of those catches already in his young career. So, getting into my players of the game, number 1 is Malik Willis, okay? Now, the stat line doesn't look great, but he got the job done. He did what he needed to do to get the Packers to a win. Threw a touchdown pass to Dontavian Wicks. That was a thing of beauty. Could have been a pick six, but he threaded it right in there. Perfect placement. And for a touchdown, a lot of people, looking at the film, you could say Jaden Reed was more open. He could have got it there. At any rate, he still got the job done. It doesn't really matter who you throw it to if you throw it accurately. And that's what he did, and they scored on that play. Completed, 12 for 14. That is a very high completion percentage. Again, not very many attempts, but he did what he needed to do. Matt LaFleur was in his bag from the get-go, schemed. The scheme, game plan, everything was great. And it helped that the Colts couldn't stop the run. Josh Jacobs, again, is my second player of the game for the offense, 32 carries, 151 yards. He ran wild and really made things very, very easy for Malik Willis, but Matt LaFleur did do some things to change things up on different runs and mix things up and, make it easier for Josh Jacobs and the offensive line to be able to spring him loose, but he was fantastic in this game. Number 3 is Romeo Doubs. Again, 3 for 62, had that big catch down the field, was second on the team in targets behind Dontavian Wicks, who had a much better game than week 1 in this one and scored the touchdown from Willis. But Doubs, 3 targets, caught all 3, including that great catch over the defender, and that went for 39 yards. So great performance, solid all the way around for Doubs, and it doesn't matter if it's Willis or Love out there. He's that reliable pass catcher that quarterbacks are just going to target because he gets open. So Romeo Doubs doing Romeo Doubs things. On the defensive side of the ball, Anthony Richardson threw 3 picks, and this defense couldn't really stop the run, but they were able to get the timely turnovers and really stifled the passing attack for the Colts. And of course, if you get Richardson to throw 34 times, good things will happen. Number 1 on the list is Eric Wilson. I believe I saw he played 8 snaps. He did a ton in 8 snaps. Made a tackle. I believe he forced a fumble. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I thought I had saw that somewhere. At any rate, he picked off a pass. He was fantastic in the limited amount of snaps he played. Broke up a pass. I guess that was the one he picked. Really, really fantastic performance by Wilson. He was all over the place in very few snaps and made his presence felt. Definitely something you want to see from linebackers. And I mean, every one of these Packers linebackers. Number 2, Xavier McKinney doing McKinney-type things. He's got his second interception in as many games. And, he picked off Anthony Richardson. Very solid performance. And made some tackles. Had a tackle for loss in there as well. So, Xavier McKinney continues to impress and looks like just about the best player on defense through 2 weeks for Green Bay. Number 3 in my players of the game on defense, it's Devontae Wyatt. 2 tackles, a sack, another tackle for loss, in addition to the sack, and another QB hit. 2 QB hits, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, 2 tackles. Devontae Wyatt was all over the place. He was impactful. He was making his presence felt as well along the defensive line. He's a guy that Packers fans and I'm sure the coaching staff are excited to be able to get going and finally unleash heading into year 3. And him and Quay Walker both looking to take that next step as first-round picks. 3 years ago for the Pack, both Georgia Bulldogs looking to, show what they can do on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers. So there are my players of the game. On offense, Malik Willis, Josh Jacobs, Romeo Doubs. Defense, Eric Wilson, Xavier McKinney, and Devontae Wyatt. So quickly, I just want to talk about the defense, I guess. The offense, I'll just go ahead and say I'm not worried about at all. Once Love comes back, they still could start slow, but they have all the pieces. No one seems to have taken like a major step back. The running game looks like it could be even better than last year. And remember, they didn't have Aaron Jones for much of the beginning of the season, and he came back and really helped fuel that stretch run for the Packers with his, whatever it was, 5 straight 100-yard games, something like that. So Josh Jacobs making an impact, 32 carries. That is, I forget what the stat was, but that's a lot. Not too many Packers in recent history. Packers running backs have had 32 carries in a game. Certainly not Aaron Jones. He was not the type of guy to handle that workload, and it's nothing against Aaron Jones. He was always very efficient. Did a lot with limited opportunities at times. But he, is more of a committee type guy, and credit to the Minnesota Vikings that they are using him in a little bit more of a committee this year as well with Ty Chandler, and that will hopefully help keep him on the field, keep him from taking all those hits, and hopefully, keep him from getting injured. Josh Jacobs, a little bigger bodied, used to taking, big workloads and during his time with the Raiders, and he did that again today. Packers will look for that to continue as Marshawn Lloyd sustained an ankle injury in this contest and was placed on IR, so he'll miss at least 4 games. Chris Brooks, a former Miami Dolphin, was signed to the active roster from the practice squad. Packers signed him to the practice squad, I believe, just last week, and signed him to the active roster as the corresponding move for Lloyd going to the IR. So the 3 backs are Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson as the 2, and then Chris Brooks as the 3, who looked very good in preseason snaps and limited action in the regular season with the Dolphins. So I'm not concerned about the running back room at all. I'm sure they're going to continue to feed Jacobs, for the most part. But I think they are high on Emmanuel Wilson. And they are, they've consistently said good things about him, and he continues to improve game by game. So he should get a few carries and be a decent number 2 option for Green Bay in, a running back committee that isn't really a committee anymore. Josh Jacobs is able to shoulder most of the load. So you don't need your RB2 to be fantastic. And I think between Wilson and Brooks, they can more than carry the load. So, like I said, of course, the receivers, tight ends, we've seen good things from them. One interesting note, at tight end, Luke Musgrave seems to be reverting back to the number 2 tight end. Now, I kind of said, I guess I didn't proclaim it loudly on the streets or anything like that, but when Tucker Kraft and Musgrave were drafted, I remember when I gave my way too early initial 53-man roster prediction last year, I had Tucker Kraft in front of Musgrave because I thought he's a more well-rounded tight end, can do more things, and I expected him to kind of be the tight end 1, with Luke Musgrave being a great pass catcher, but not a guy that's going to always be on the field. Turns out, entering year 2, I'm right on that. And Tucker Kraft looks more than capable with catching passes. Luke Musgrave caught his first pass for only 6 yards just this week. Kraft has a couple catches in each of the first 2 games and is just a much better blocker and can do a lot more things on the field that Matt LaFleur likes to use his tight end, likes a versatile tight end that can do it all, I guess, kind of like a George Kittle. Those kind of tight ends are very valuable in the league. Plus, Luke Musgrave also had this thing where, Kraft, I think, is a better run after the catch guy. Musgrave seems to fall over a lot after he catches it. He can get open downfield. He's got great speed, probably more than Kraft, but Kraft is slightly bigger and just hurdles guys, very physical after the catch, and can really make some guys miss, make some plays happen after the catch. And he did so in this one. Had a 17-yard reception for a first down, I believe, on a 3rd down. So he's very much going going to have a huge role this year for the Packers, and he looks very good so far as a blocker and as a receiver. So that is just a quick note there. Like I said, the defense, I am somewhat concerned. They faced Barkley and Taylor, were not able to really stop them at all. Jonathan Taylor, if I can just look at the stats here real quick, was 12 for 103, only 12 carries, 8.6 average, still got over 100 yards. He gashed them quite a few times once they got him rolling, but the Colts did not stick to the run and tried to pass it, and the Packers took advantage of Anthony Richardson and his inaccuracy to the tune of 3 interceptions. They also stifled him on the ground for the most part as well. He was only 4 for 37. Had a 21-yard run, but other than that, not much else. So that was kind of their game plan, to just, maybe let Taylor beat him a little bit, but Hafley said afterwards that they don't want to give up any big plays to anyone. It's not a thing where they're like, oh, we'll let the run game go a little bit and then just be geared up for a turnover. No, he wants to have a well-rounded defense that can stop every aspect of the opposing team's offense, which makes total sense. Kind of need to do that, especially once you get to the playoffs, because teams aren't going to have really any weaknesses on offense. So something to monitor. Again, Taylor and Barkley are great backs. The Colts and Eagles have pretty good offensive lines as well, but something to monitor, especially since the Packers have struggled stopping the run in years past, like for a very long time. So hopefully they can get that fixed. I don't have too much concern right now, I guess, but certainly would like to see things continue to get better, and I think this was a better performance after all, holding the Colts, who had a pretty good week 1 on offense, to only 10 points is pretty good, following not a great performance in week 1 versus the Eagles. So there's my slightly long-winded, I guess, reactions to the game, in case you didn't already hear all that. Packers will now travel to Tennessee for a hot one versus the Tennessee Titans. Could be a revenge game for Malik Willis, but Jordan Love has practiced it in a limited fashion all 3 practices this week. So he's been back in practice. He is again listed as questionable. Will likely be a true game time decision. Matt LaFleur said they are, quote, working through Love being medically cleared to play against the Titans. Also, Love will have a decision to make himself as well. Whether he wants to play or not, it would be a revenge game if Malik Willis plays. Malik Willis has already said he is not looking at it as a revenge game. He's grateful for his time with the Titans and grateful for another opportunity to potentially start in place of Love with the Packers. And so he is not looking to get revenge on the Titans at all, just looking to continue to try to get better and go out there and win a game for the Packers if need be. I'm not really sure. Packers are somewhat cautious with injuries normally, especially when a star player. LaFleur said, quote, he wants to be out there more than anybody. We'll work through it. We'll give it up until game time, and we'll see where we're at. So he's recovering from a sprained MCL in his left knee. Practiced all 3 days, and he's been wearing a sleeve on that knee. Will likely wear a brace during the game if he plays. So we'll see. Earlier today, the Packers did elevate quarterback Sean Clifford to the game day roster, and also cornerback Robert Rochelle, more of a special teams guy as well. Those two have been elevated for the active day roster. Again, I'm not sure the Sean Clifford elevation amounts to too much. Really all it tells us is that this will likely be a true game time decision, and that there is definitely a chance that Jordan Love misses this game but I don't think that means he's not going to play, because we thought this was going to be a game time decision anyway. In the event he doesn't play, Sean Clifford will play or will be active as the backup to Malik Willis. So something to monitor. To be completely honest, if it was me, I'd probably sit Jordan Love because I think the Packers can win this game against the Titans. Will Levis has looked absolutely terrible, so terrible, in fact, that his coach, Bryce, or maybe it's Brian, I keep mixing things up, I think it's Brian Callahan, has said nothing but bad things in post-game pressers after Week 1 and Week 2. After, the Titans had the game in the bag against Caleb Williams and the Bears. Basically, the Bears defense won that game. Or maybe you could say Will Levis lost that game with a bunch of errors and turnovers. So if we look at the Titans' offense during the first couple games, I guess, the interception thrown percentage, 5%, number 28, but their turnover margin per game is -2 on offense. So in other words, they are, -2 in the turnover differential, and it's tough to win games that way. As far as the defense, as far as points per game, they're allowing 24 points per game, and they played the Bears, and I don't remember who they played in Week 2. I will just look that up here real quick. But they're actually number 24 in that regard, which is a little bit surprising. The Titans defense, I guess, is kind of their strength. They played the Jets in Week 2. The Jets put up 24. Bears put up 24. Not much of that was Caleb Williams doing. Just for all you people that are wondering. As far as yards per game allowed, they are allowing total yards per game of 206.5 to the opposing offense. That's number 1. Yards per play is number 1 at 3.8. And points per play is .440. So that's interesting. They're allowing points but not yards. So I'm not sure. I guess that probably that's an indication of how bad the Titans offense is, I guess. They're putting opposing offenses in very good field position so that they can score points without getting many yards or even many yards per play without much efficiency. As far as third down conversion, they are number 9th in opponents' third down conversion percentage. As far as fourth down percentage, apparently there were probably very few times, and it's 100% that opponents have converted fourth down. So the very few times that there has been a first down, it's 100%. That's number 23. So that tells you that there hasn't been a ton of fourth down tries, I guess, so far through only 2 weeks. Red zone scoring percentage, 33.33%. That's number 9. Touchdowns per game, 2.5. That's number 21. So they allow score to an extent, but they also are pretty top 10 in red zone scoring percentage against. So that tells you that this defense is pretty good. It's just their offense is not helping them out at all. So this could be interesting. They have a pretty good defensive line. Jeffrey Simmons on that line up front. He is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So that could be interesting. The other side of the ball, in the trenches, they are not very good. Their offensive line has not performed well at all. Their right tackle specifically has not been good, and this is definitely a matchup that Hafley will look to exploit. Probably will put Rashawn Gary over there, and if so, I expect Gary to eat and, possibly get a few sacks. Will Levis also struggles with pocket presence, so he often gets sacked from behind without knowing pressure's even there, just kind of standing there like a statue. If he does feel the pressure, there's a good chance he'll throw an interception. So that's what you want to do. Hafley's going to look to put pressure on Will Levis, and I think that's how the Packers can win this game. Just even if it is a tough defense with Malik Willis out there or Jordan Love, whatever it is, I think the defense can really have a good game in this one. The Titans' offense fits exactly what Hafley's defense wants to do, and the fact that they turn the ball over a lot. Hafley's defense has been great at generating turnovers through the first 2 weeks. So I believe they have 5 turnovers through the first 2 weeks, and all season last year they only generated 7. Unless I'm talking, that could be interceptions, actually. I think that's actually interceptions. At any rate, they're generating turnovers at a high rate because, after all, interceptions are turnovers. There's no way they only created 7 turnovers last year. So, yeah, interceptions. Apologies there. So, I will try to wrap things up here. I think the Packers can win with Willis or with Love, and so I will project the final score to be 20. Well, it's hard to tell whether Love or Willis is in. I'll just give you a prediction with Willis being in, and I will just say 17-10 with Willis. Maybe could be more like 24-10 if Love is in there. Either way, I don't think the Titans will score too many, and it could be a low-scoring affair, kind of like last week, especially if Willis is the starter, because the Titans do have a pretty good defense. But I expect LaFleur to get it done, and Hafley specifically to get it done on the defensive side of the ball. So, that is it for today's episode. Be sure to comment any of your thoughts on YouTube, wherever you're listening, Spotify, whatever it is. That would be much appreciated. To get your feedback on here, get your takes on the game, what you think will happen. But that will do it. Until next week, go Pack Go.